In this video, we are beginning with phase 1, where the summary of all Abrahamic religions will be given along with its history. You may ask, why am I only targeting Abrahamic religions? Why not to begin with religions in the East such as Hinduism, Taoism, Shintoism, Buddhism and many more? Well, the answer is quite simple. First, there was no such thing as ism. This whole concept as ism originated in this dark age. And there was no such thing as religion, and it is the West where the first pseudo-religion started. Well, pseudo-religion is no different than Judaism. Take the East into consideration. There were many gods to worship in a culture. People used to consider a specific god his or her deity, and worship the deity with some set of rules or methods. This is the easiest definition of Judaism. But when the Dark Age, Kali Yuga came, the Western people were the first to be corrupted in mind then originated the religion. Because each religion or Abrahamic religion proves the truth to be their way. And no other alternative was acceptable or true according to them. But our world was not like this before 5,000 years. Those same gods were having different names and little different appearances in different lands. The whole point of worshipping was to get salvation from life in any form. But we will get to these topics later, and let us first begin with the three major Abrahamic religions. The oldest Abrahamic religion is Judaism, which is still unknown to many people. Judaism believes Jewish people believe there's only one God who has established a covenant or special agreement with them. Their God communicates to believers through prophets and rewards good deeds while also punishing evil. Most Jews, with the exception of a few groups, believe that their Messiah hasn't yet come, but will one day. Jewish people worship in holy places known as synagogues, and their spiritual leaders are called rabbis. The six-pointed Star of David is the symbol of Judaism. Today, there are about 14 million Jews worldwide. Most of them live in the United States and Israel. Traditionally, a person is considered Jewish if his or her mother is Jewish. Torah, the Jewish sacred text, is called the Tanakh or the Hebrew Bible. It includes the same books as the Old Testament in the Christian Bible, but they're placed in a slightly different order. The Torah, the first 5 books of the Tanakh, outlines laws for Jews to follow. It's sometimes also referred to as the Pentateuch. Founder of Judaism, the origins of Jewish faith are explained throughout the Torah. According to the text, God first revealed himself to a Hebrew man named Abraham, who became known as the founder of Judaism. Jews believed that God made a special covenant with Abraham and that he and his descendants were chosen people who would create a great nation. Abraham's son Isaac and his grandson Jacob also became central figures in ancient Jewish history. Jacob took the name Israel, and his children and future generations became known as Israelites. More than 1,000 years after Abraham, the prophet Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt after being enslaved for hundreds of years. According to scriptures, God revealed his laws, known as the 10 Commandments, to Moses at Mt. Sinai. So in short, Judaism was one of the world's oldest religions, dating back nearly 4,000 years, and is considered to be the original Abrahamic faith, which includes Islam and Christianity. As a monotheistic faith, followers of Judaism believe in one God who revealed himself through ancient prophets, including Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Solomon and others. In addition to a number of sacred texts, the most important of which is the Torah, Jews believe that the 10 Commandments are holy laws handed down to Moses by God. Throughout their history, Jews have been subject to persecution for their faith, including the deaths of about 6 million Jews during the Holocaust. The persecution of Jews lasted 2,000 years. But the question is, why were the Jews always subjected to hatred and persecution? The first persecutions against the Jewish people were religious. They were killers of Christ and black magic worshippers who did not follow or believe in Jesus. we can see that hatred was felt by the local populations, but it was the leaders of the different societies which stirred up that hate, and their reasons for doing so could be mixed. Among the ringleaders might be a zealot Christian church leader, a knight in debt to a Jewish moneylender, a jealous doctor, or a usurped advisor to a king. In the 19th century, religious persecution gave way to racial persecution. The Jews were seen as parasites. This change in attitude came from a volatile brew of social Darwinism and rising European nationalism. The Jews were seen to be the outsiders who not only did not belong but needed to be removed as a threat to society. More sinister, in both cases, religious and racial persecution are a facade for the real reason that the Jews were seen as threatening, namely the fear and threat from an outside group who through history had a position of power that created jealousy which turned to violence in troubled times. In the 20th century, another factor for persecution can be added, and this is the Jewish connection to communism. In 1897 in Basel, the first Zionist conference was held. Theodor Herz, the father of Zionism, talked of sending Jews to Palestine to build a homeland. The Zionist thinkers talked of a society which was less class-driven, socialism. In 1917, the Russian Revolution took place and, among its leaders, Trotsky was Jewish. Trotsky believed in a world revolution, and his call was first answered in Germany, where many of the leaders in the Munich Soviet of 1918-19 were Jewish. Thus, the greatest radical idea of the 20th century was to be linked to Jewish thinkers. In Nazi Germany, social Darwinism, communism, socialism and war profiteering were to be mixed and brewed to become the hatred that Hitler stirred up from the 1920s to the 1940s. So we can conclude that anti-Semitism was not a creation of Hitler. It has been part of European society for over 2000 years. The Jewish religion and the attempt to maintain it, when the Jews were expelled from their homeland by the Romans, was the key factor in their survival as a group, but by being a recognizable group who had power, they seemed to threaten many of their adopted societies. These are some facts known by the world. But that is not the actual reason for such tremendous genocide. What actually might be the reason? What karma caused the Jews to suffer so much? Are they really the chosen ones from God, the descendant of God? Let me give you a blasphemous statement, and I will prove my statement in upcoming videos. The statement is, the karmic reason for the suffering of Jews is that they are the actual people from the Yaduvanshi Empire, the actual empire of Lord Krishna. And all the other Yadavs in present India are fake ones. And yes, it is true that the Jews or Yahudis are the chosen one from the God. They are from the empire of the last empire of God's Dwapar Yuga. But why is the Torah so different from Vedas? Is it really different, or we have no perspective? As they say, the truth is always hidden in mist. Kali Yuga disintegrates and contaminates the truth over time. Why is there so much difference in culture, language, scriptures, God? The people will already start hating me for making such nonsense and mythical statements. But I shall answer you all these questions in upcoming videos. So the conclusion of this video is, Judaism is the oldest so-called Abrahmic religion. The Jews people have always been incredibly successful. But they also were subjected to a curse of persecution. And the Jews are actually descendants of a Vedic empire, the empire which gave them the curse.